What is up, everybody? Sheehan back here with another edition of the betting show for Sherdog.com. As we've a big weekend in the world of mixed martial arts, a pretty good, okay, Bellator card, and I suppose you could say the same for the UFC. An important contender light heavyweight fight for the UFC in the main event. An important welterweight contender fight, I would say, for Bellator in their main event. So, you know, we could see a few title shots, maybe another fight down the line after the cards this weekend. So I have a few bets from both of those fights and a little bit beyond as well. If you haven't seen my Bellator 274 preview yet, please check that out. I have a good few bets from that here today, and you know, the top four fights in that, and I'll get more into them. They're pretty good in terms of the matchups and in terms of the bets. I think there's a few bets for them there. Whereas the UFC, I don't know, it's with the Fiziev Dos Anjos fight falling out. It had a good main event and co-main event, and now it kind of just has a good main event. So there isn't loads to unpack in that, but we will get through it, and I have a couple of bets from that as well. Before I start, as I say always, please bet responsibly. Don't bet more than you can. Even bet way less than that. Be very, very be very careful with it. And as well, thank you very much for all the support. A lot more people have been watching this video recently. It's on Spotify now as well, and it's on iTunes and Podcast Republic, wherever you listen to your podcast as well. So if you want to get it there, you can get it there, and I appreciate it. The comments I know people have been saying, giving out to me for saying, "Oh, it's not a betting show; it's an MMA show that's about betting," kind of, and I appreciate that as well. So I try to do my best. Also, in the post, my great friend and producer, John Brannigan, is doing a great job of keeping track of the scores. Now, last week, not my best week. I only got one from my 4 picks, and in the... Oh, God, my flyer of the weeks just haven't been doing great. But I think I've got at least 2 every other week so far before that. So my record is actually pretty good up until last week. I haven't gone 4-0 yet this year. So I hope I'm not jinxing myself here now. These are the famous last words. I probably have jinxed myself. But yeah, I haven't been doing too bad so far. And we'll try to keep track of that throughout the year. If I do terribly, we can kind of make a joke out of it and pick the opposite of what I'm doing. If I'm doing well, sure, let's follow along and bet some of the same ones along the way as well. So let's get straight into it here and look at a couple of my bets for the weekend. I'm going to start with Bellator first, tell you my 2 bets for Bellator, and then maybe go down through the card a little bit, and then head on over to the UFC and discuss my couple of bets there, and then we'll talk about the flyer. I'm actually, as I speak right now, I have 2 flyer bets up in front of me, and I'm undecided which one I'm going to go for. So let's get to Bellator first. It's an easy one, first one for me with Bellator. I'm going for Logan Storley, just straight up to win at plus 135. He's obviously fighting Neiman Gracie in the main event, and as I mentioned earlier, my Bellator preview up, and I went back and I watched a good bit of footage on both of them. And you know, if you've never seen Logan Storley before, he is your old-fashioned drag him down, take him to deep waters wrestler. You know, it was funny, I was having a chat the other day with Ben Folks and other people online about GSP, and you know, people kind of remembering him being more fun, I suppose, than he was in terms of his ride to the top, or his journey to the top. And I think, you know, what most people, I'd say, kind of agreed was it was the domination that was kind of admirable or enjoyable more than the actual maybe fights themselves and things. I think Storley's a bit of a GSP in the way he fights at times. I know it's a little bit different. He absolutely doesn't have the technical ability standing of a GSP or anything like that. But I'm talking about in terms of wrestling. He has big double legs in the middle of the cage, will pull you down, will hold on to you for dear life and not let you go. And it's very, very hard to get away from him. You know, very hard. He fought Amosov, who's a champion at the moment, and a lot of people are calling, you know, one of the best welterweights in the world. He's fighting MVP, obviously, coming up soon. And that was a split decision, if I'm not mistaken. And, you know, Storley could have won that. It was one of those ones where, you know, if you're a bit of a criteria nut like me, there wasn't much to unpack in the criteria in terms of there wasn't many strikes, there wasn't many submission attempts or anything like that. It was just a battle, a pure and utter battle for I think it was 15 minutes, and that's exactly the type of fighter Logan Storley is. As well, for a guy, and this one very important thing as well we must mention here, this is the first ever Bellator main event that isn't a title fight that goes 5 rounds. So the UFC changed it a while back. I believe it was Mark Munoz versus Chris Lieben in maybe Nottingham or somewhere in England anyway. That was the first one. That was always a bit of trivia, I remember. That was the UFC's first one. And now Bellator are going that way as well and having all main events be 5 rounds. So that's a big factor here as well. And I'm saying that because I was just about to make the point that Logan Storley has very, very good cardio and can keep going all day. But I think, with this coming in here now, the one thing kind of Bellator fighters lacked was that ability to have a 5-round main event before they got to, say, a title fight or something. Like, let's say, Leon Edwards, right, is going to be fighting for the UFC title. And now, I have the terrible memories, but I'm sure Leon Edwards has fought in a couple of main events, hasn't he? Or if he hasn't, maybe he will before he even gets the title shot. Or whoever it might be, a Vicente Luque or a Volkanovski when he was the challenger, or whoever it might be on the way. Cyril Gagnon, recently he had a few 5-round before he got to the top. That's one thing Bellator fighters haven't been able to have, and it's a thing they haven't been able to prepare for, but now they have. Now, the kind of the other point I'm making about that is, will that kind of stand against some of these lads, in the first few fights at 5 rounds? Is it a thing we need to talk about in the betting shot in terms of like, okay, cardio, the guys with really good cardio might have an advantage in these fights now because this is the first time they've really been preparing for him. And I know Gracie was a fought in title fight, didn't he, before? So yeah, it's maybe not so much it, but I think, look, my point of it, Storley, is I think he has great cardio. I think he's fantastic cardio, but it's hard to know if it's going to keep going on for the 5 rounds. I think it will, personally, and I'm backing him because of that, and I'm going with him at +135. Look, I think he'll be able to take Gracie down, and Gracie will threaten with submissions, will threaten, to finish him, will go for omoplatas and, arm bars and everything like that, and, will put him in dangerous situations, but I think he'll be able to get out of it, Storley. And also, I think the problem with Storley is when someone... I don't think he necessarily struggles with jiu-jitsu, although he's never fought anyone with jiu-jitsu the level of Neiman Gracie, don't get me wrong. I think his biggest struggle is, and all wrestlers are like this, I suppose, someone who's as good at wrestling as him. Like the Amosov fight, Amosov wouldn't stop stopping him, taking him down. You know what I mean? He wouldn't stop sprawling. He wouldn't stop wrestling against him. I don't think Gracie will be like that. I think Gracie will stop wrestling against him. He'll be happy enough to take him, for Storley to take the fight to the ground and play it out there. And when Storley gets in that position, as we've seen in other fights, as I mentioned on the preview I did as well, is really good at landing shots in that position. He's really good when he gets into a comfortable position, not a comfortable position, but just a held position, a position of superiority, whether it's half guard or wrestlers absolutely love, or, it's mostly half guard, to be honest, but even in full guard or maybe even in side control, he has like a good grip of the upper body where he's keeping down. He will land big shots. He will throw a big ground and pound. Because if you watch only the Amosov fight, you might think, oh, well, he doesn't have too much ground and pound. He doesn't have too much output, but it's the matchup there more than anything else. In these other fights, he does throw a lot. So I think in that position against Gracie, I think it's going to be a tough night for Neiman Gracie. Like, could he catch him in a submission? Absolutely. He can catch anyone in a submission. But I was surprised to see Storley was the underdog here. You could argue he is the best welterweight in Bellator in terms of his dominance with the wrestling. He's only lost to Amosov, and Amosov is the champion right now. And, as I said, he arguably won that fight. Like, will this play out as a stand-up fight? I don't know. That is a question with two grapplers that I suppose you can always ask. But Storley is training in Sanford MMA now, and I guarantee you he's not concentrating. I have a lot of double negatives in this video, but he's not standing back and not training his stand-up with all the killers they have there. I've seen, Ireland's own Ian Gary putting up Instagram posts, and he was training with Gilbert Burns yesterday, and Vicente Luque is on the mats, and others as well. And I guarantee you Storley, and Ian Gary's mentioned Logan Storley as well. I guarantee you he's helping them with the wrestling, they're helping him with the striking. So I don't know. I just think I think Logan Storley is a top prospect. And not even prospect. I think he's championship level in that already, in this division already. And I think he'll win here. Look, Gracie absolutely could catch him in a submission. On the feet, Gracie is actually good as well. If you're to look at previous fights, Gracie has a good jab. He is not a bad technical kind of basic boxing, which is a compliment now and then, might sound like it's not, but he's not bad at all. So I on the feed, I think it's up in the air. I'm just kind of banking on a little bit that Storley has improved, but I also do think Storley will take him down. I think Gracie will be happy to get taken down, and I suppose that's what everyone wants. We want the kind of the grappling matchup here, but I think Storley will have enough control on the ground, and I think he'll land enough shots to win it here. Could be a long one. As I said, the cardio might come into it going into the third, fourth, fifth round. I think it could be interesting. But yeah, I'm going for Storley just straight up to win, plus 135. Right, next bet I'm going for here is another underdog on this card. I'm going for Georgi Karakhanyan to win. He is plus, let me just look at it here again, plus 216 over Adam Piccolotti. This is another one I was a little bit surprised that he's the underdog here. Like, I went back and I watched, as I said, for that preview again, I went back and I watched a good few fights with Piccolotti. I know him, but I wasn't as familiar. Like, I couldn't just pull it up like I can with Karakhanyan, I suppose. But I did go back and watch some Karakhanyan fights as well. And, like, they're both solid guys. You know, they're both solid fighters. Piccolotti, as I mentioned, he's one of those guys who looks like a striker, but is actually a wrestler, kind of, you know. No, he's well-rounded, don't get me wrong. He's not just a wrestler or anything like that. But he kind of lulls you into thinking you're having a striker matchup with him, and then he takes you down. Whereas Karakhanyan, and he throws lots of shots. As I mentioned on the previews, well, he reminds me a little bit of a Paul Felder in terms of he's striking or a Bisping or something like that. He fights like a power, maybe not a Bisping, a Felder. Fights like a power striker, but really isn't, you know. But when he gets to the ground, you can kind of see his power and his dominance. He's really, really good there. But Karakhanyan is hard to take down, you know, unless you're the top of that division. I'm not sure Piccolotti is. He's a good fighter, but to be him, I see him minus 300 here in some places. Now, he might win. And look, if I had to pick it straight up, it'd be a lot closer. I'd probably have to think about it a lot more. But when Karakhanyan is plus 216 over 2-1 underdog, I'm going with that, because Karakhanyan can stop the takedown. He can take him down himself, I think, and he can land that big shot. Karakhanyan has power. He's very, very, like, look at the Paul Redman fight. I went back and watched that. They put that up on their YouTube. And, like, Redzer took him down. People maybe don't realize, he's a very good wrestler and a very, very good jiu-jitsu. And Redzer ended up taking him down. But Karakhanyan survived, and he was able to come back and able to win that fight. And, you know, that kind of means a lot when you're able to survive in those positions. Like, Paul Redmond has submitted lots of people, lots of very good people too, and Karakhanyan was able to, you know, to get through that. And, you know, he's done lots of other stuff throughout his career as well. Karakhanyan's always been an impressive guy to me, really impressive. I just liked, he always, you know, he's like, I don't know, he's stony or something, do you know? Yeah, I know, he's the type of guy that it's hard, and I know he has been in the past, but it's hard to imagine him being finished. You know, it's hard to imagine him giving up anything early, or you know, giving up anything quick. And I don't think he will in this fight. I don't think he ever has. But and you know, his last fights, was it AJ McKee knocked him out in 8 seconds? But you know, you get what I mean. Like, he's a tough man. And when you have tough men like that, it means a lot. You know, I did a podcast there recently talking kind of about that sort of thing, where when the level of quality in MMA goes up and up and up and up to where we have the likes of John Jones, AJ McKee's, Habib Nurmagomedov, it's the toughest guys who are going to end up winning those fights when everyone has the best quality. And like in some fights like this, that can be the X factor. Like, I talked last week about Tuivasa and Lewis, and the reason I picked Tuivasa in that fight was because I thought the technical ability in the kind of a power firefight like that would stand out, and I think it did in the end, honestly. And to me, just a little bit of toughness from, not to say that Piccolotti isn't tough, absolutely, anyone who goes in there and does it is tough, but there are some people who are tough and there are some people who are fucking tough, and I think Karakhanyan is one of those. And look, on that, maybe it's a little bit even about respect here. I just respect him an awful lot, and at that price, I'm going for Karakhanyan to win it. So yeah, right, I'll just quickly run down through the rest of the Bellator card here, and then I get to my my UFC bets. My last 3 bets, my two bets and my flyer are all from the UFC, so I'll go through Bellator here quickly. I was looking at Koreshkov versus Chancellor and Contra. Koreshkov minus 275. I don't like. I said it previously. I don't like giving bets like almost a 3-1 on underdog. I think he will win, and you know, if you're putting it in the accumulator or something, absolutely, I would definitely pick Koreshkov there. There aren't many props up here at the moment, and I've waited till as late as I can to record this video. But there's the over-under, maybe. The under is plus 200. I wouldn't be backing that. The under 1.2 rounds, 1.5 rounds. The under 2.5 rounds, 2.5 rounds is plus 120. I would probably stay away from that as well. Fight goes to decision, minus 130 would probably be the one I would go for there. But if, accumulator, minus 275, throw Koreshkov into it, I think that's a pretty good bet there. Okay, the main event as well, no props up for it basically yet, but Logan Storley, the underdog at plus 135, Neiman Gracie minus 155. I think that line is backwards, honestly. I think it should be the other way around. Then we've Piccolotti minus 276 plus 216 for Karakhanyan. The fight goes to decision, minus 185. Yeah, could. Fight doesn't go to decision, plus 145. Yeah, I'd probably stay away from that. I think it's touch and go. Now, the other fight I was looking at was Devion Franklin versus Saeed Soma. Now, Soma, anyone who's listened to my last couple of previews on Soma knows what I kind of think of him. He's one of these guys who's a very good fighter, but he's maybe the most defensive heavyweight fighter I've ever seen. He kind of circles and hits the odd time, like not even that often. And Franklin's the exact opposite. He'll come forward. I did a full breakdown of it on the preview. He'll come forward and just go at you. And he is the underdog, Franklin, plus 135, and Soma's minus 155. I like the fight to go to a decision. This was going to be one of my flyers, but it's not big enough. To go to decision, plus 265. I like that a lot, to be honest. I really, really like that a lot. The under 1.5 rounds is plus 105. If you want to lay one of them, I do the two of them, because if Franklin wins, he'll win early, I think. I really do. I think he'll win early. But Soma is the type of guy who'd drag it out to a decision and just he makes himself hard to hit. So that's why I go for Soma there. The rest of the fights I'll run through quickly. Makachu plus 241 underdog, minus 300 for Hockett. Samuels plus 280, Montalvo minus 355. Brendan Warden, he's come back. He's a massive minus 425 favourite over Brandon Bell, who's a 325 in the plus direction. Underdog Avi Ghazali, who I didn't concentrate too much on in the preview. Maybe I should have had a little bit more, but he's a very, very good fighter, submission artist. He's minus 300 favour over Bobby King, who's plus 241. I think that's a good bet as well. If you're doing an accumulator, throw him into it. I think he'll win as well. Chris Disannell plus 500 over Jalen Bates, minus 900. Bates, obviously one of their up-and-comers as well. One of my favourite fights in the card, Justin Keesh, Deanna Bennett. Justin Keesh, barely a favourite, minus 135. Bennett's plus 105. I'd probably go for Keesh there in that one as well. Another one of the prospects, Journey Newman, is minus 600 over plus 400, Cody Herbert. Jonathan Di Lorenzo, minus 301, plus 241 for Alonzo Mendoza. And a lot of people, I know we talked about this last week. I was talking to Spencer Kite about it. He likes Mandel Nallo minus 160 over Nick Brown plus 140. That's a very good fight. That's a high level fight. Nallo's training out of Faraz Zahabi's gym, I believe, and Nick Brown is a very good champion on the regional scene in the States. So yeah, that's definitely one to look out for. I think that's headline in the prelims, so that's a pretty good fight. And honestly, that's probably a better fight than anything the UFC have, apart from a couple here. So let's get to some of the UFC, and I won't go through the UFC as in depth because there's a lot of knotting on that UFC, honestly. There's a lot of knotting on it. But my two bets for the UFC, I'll go for the first one first, as I normally would. I'm going for Parker Porter against Baudot to end the TKO KO at minus 150. Now, that's a heavyweight fight. As you might have guessed, we've seen Parker Porter before. Porter is a big favourite at minus 260 and Baudot is plus 220. I was thinking about giving Baudot straight up at plus 220. I think he's a good fighter. I went back and I watched his fight with Nascimento earlier on, and it shows exactly what he is, I think, in that fight. He's one of the, I spoke about like toughness and ability earlier on. He's one with loads of ability, and not to say he's not tough. Don't get me wrong. Anyone who steps in there is tough, and far from me to fucking say it. But Like, some people are Derek Lewis tough, some people are Ryan Nelson tough. You know, I just don't think Baudot is that. And I feel bad saying that, but I honestly think that. But sometimes it doesn't matter, because I think he's very good, and I actually think he'll win the fight. And I could have given my bet straight up. I might even change it here, but I don't know. I'm going to stick with it. I just think his striking is really good. Like, Parker Porter hits very, very hard as well, and he's, you know, a good fighter as well. I think Baudot at his best is better than Porter. But I think Baudot at his worst is a mile worse than Porter, if you get me, if that makes any sense. And sometimes in a heavyweight fight in the UFC, especially if it goes over a couple of rounds, we can see the worst of the guys. And that might sound like a bad thing to say, but it's the reality of it as well. But look, I'm going for that fight to end in a TKO KO minus 150. I think if Baudot comes out and fights well in the first round, he'll win in the first round and knock him out. Parker Porter could do the exact same thing, but I think if it goes longer, I think Porter will land a lot of shots. He'll get tired as well. You know, he takes after myself in the old Heffalump department. I just think this fight will end. I think Baudot will either get tired and take a few shots and go down, or else he'll win early. Or it's a heavyweight fight. Someone will catch someone, lads. You know, you don't have to be fucking Luke Thomas to break down this one. Someone will get punched in the face and it'll probably end. And it's minus 150. Basically, you know, double your money kind of job. Or you know, yeah. Grand. Minus 150. And I'm not going, I don't know. This is like a mid-level heavyweight fight. This card is rubbish. That's what I got for you anyway, and hopefully it'll win. We'll see. Right, my last two bets are both from the main event. And I honestly think, right, so I'm a massive fan of Jamahal Hill. I do my bold predictions every year, and one of my bold predictions, maybe a little bit foolhardy on me, but I predicted that Jamahal Hill would become the UFC light heavyweight champion this year, right? And I'm sticking by that in a way, but I think this is a very even fight with Johnny Walker because of the way Johnny Walker fights now. Like, I got a lot of criticism for the last fight and the way he didn't kind of go for it, or he didn't open up in the end. And you know, some of that absolutely warranted. People like to kind of poo-poo John Kavanagh as well, you know, which is their own prerogative, I suppose. But I don't think anyone can go back and watch that fight against Thiago Santos, wasn't it? Yeah. And deny that Johnny Walker didn't have huge improvements in certain areas, in terms of even just the patience, in terms of using his base quality more than he's ever used it before. And I always use the word basic and base, and maybe some people take that as a negative, but I actually think it's a really positive thing. Like, your base is your jab, your straight right down through the middle, or your straight left of your sub, you know what I mean? Those things are very important. All the best fighters of all time, you know, boxing and MMA strikers, have used those things to their advantage. And one thing, like I talked about GSP earlier, brilliant, magnificent jabber right down through the middle. Was it Josh Koscheck fight? He won title fights with that alone. It's very, very important. So it's not a negative thing. And I think Johnny Walker has become more of that fighter in his last fight anyway. Now, we'll see if he changes things up. Maybe he won't. But this is 5 rounds too now. Very, very recently changed that. As I mentioned earlier on, Fiziev versus Dos Anjos was supposed to be supposed to be the main event, and it was only like last week this was changed to 5 rounds. So that's a big part of this. I think that will lead to these lads fighting a little bit more conservatively, and that's why I've gone for my first bet, and it's the over 2.5 rounds, and it's plus 150. I think that's a great bet, to be honest. Now, cue someone getting knocked out in 7 seconds. Get 7 seconds because I gave that. But I think this fight will be a little bit longer, mainly because of the way Johnny Walker is fighting now in a more conservative way. And I don't mean that as a negative either. For Johnny Walker, he probably did need to fight a little bit more conservatively. It's adding, you know, that newfound basic brilliance to the madness we found earlier. You know, Miguel Pereira kind of went through the same thing. A lot of people compare those, and I think he kind of found that rhythm in the last fight a little bit, and he did very well. So I think Johnny Walker is maybe a step behind him on that path. Maybe he'll take another couple of fights, but I think it will be more kind of safe is the wrong word, but you get what I mean. More defensively smart until he does find that. And I think the over 2.5 rounds here in this one is good. Now, Hill, I'm kind of struggling to know what Hill kind of will do to that. Will he just kind of keep coming forward? If he doesn't have success early, will he kind of wear himself out? I think he'll be taking a little bit easy towards the first 2 rounds as well. I don't think he'll want to wear himself out. I think he'll want to kind of bring himself into the fight. He'll be looking for big shots absolutely throughout it. But yeah, I like that over on the plus 150. I like that. Over 2.5 rounds. So that's it. Right. I'm to make a decision here. Right. So my decision here is on my flyer. I'm either going for Walker or Hill to win by decision. Now, Walker is plus 900 to win by decision. He almost won the decision last time out against Thiago Santos, who a lot of people kind of argued beat John Jones and all that. And I know he had the knee injuries and everything, and he didn't look magnificent in that fight. Or I'm going for Hill. And now the Hill bet is to win by unanimous decision. It's a prop at plus 600. Now there could be a split or something like that. Maybe that is a little bit dangerous, but to him just to win by decision wasn't big enough for a flyer, so I went for this. Do you know what? I'm going to back the Irishman. I'm going to go for it. Even though I'm completely contradicting myself, I'm going to back the Irishman and go for Johnny Walker by decision at plus 900. This is what a flyer is designed at, lads. My flyers are not designed to win, right? They're designed to have a plus 900 bet that comes off once every 6 weeks. I said once a month before. I haven't got one in a month, so I'm moving to 6 weeks. It might be 8 weeks in a while or something like that. You'd never know. But yeah, I'm going for Johnny Walker by decision at plus 900. I think this fight will go long. I really do. And I might be completely wrong. I might, as I said, I might be knockout in the first round. But I just feel like this fight's going to go long. Going back and watching some of their fights, especially the way Johnny Walker fought last time out, I think this is going long. So Walker by decision plus 900. If not, can I throw in a second flyer? Am I allowed to do that? It's my show. I make the rules. Hill by unanimous decision plus 600. I like that as well. I like that. But anyway, let's run down through some of the bets here. Just straight up, if you like that fight, it's minus 240 Jamahal Hill plus 205 Johnny Walker. Yeah, it's probably right, even though I just kind of said there in one of my bets that I picked Johnny Walker, but I just think it's going to be long. I find it hard to know what way this fight's going to play out from Hill's point of view. I think I know what way that Johnny Walker is going to fight, but from Hill's point of view, I'm just not sure. We've never really seen him in a position like this against the fighter like that, so I'm very, very intrigued. Jamie Pickett plus 220 over Kyle Dawkins minus 260. Baudot straight up as 220, as I mentioned earlier on, minus 260 for Parker Porter, so I'm on for that one by KO minus 150 if I'm not mistaken. This is the other one I was looking at then. Abdul Razak Al Hassan versus Joaquin Buckley. Al Hassan is plus 135, which honestly I kind of like. The under 2.5 rounds of that is minus 215. The under 1.5 rounds is minus 103. Minus 125, minus 103 in other places. That was one of the bets I had kind of penciled in and I took it out. You just never know, You just never know on that one. Although, look, Al Hassan is plus 205 to win by KO. Buckley is only plus 125. Oh, that's all. So, yeah, I don't know. They're a bit stingy with the prices there, I think. Jim Miller is an underdog again, plus 155. Hard to ever write off Jim Miller against Nicholas Mata, minus 180. There's lots of fights that are seemingly out of this card, so we never know what's going to happen. David Onama and Benitez, I think that fight tonight, I really like that fight. Very close as well, minus 145 for Onama. Benitez is plus 125. Jessica Rose Clark, minus 175. Stephanie Egger, plus 150. Chaz Skelly, big strong wrestler for that division, minus 200, plus 170 over Mark Stiegel. Christian Rodriguez is a big underdog, plus 270 against the favourite, minus 330 Jonathan Pierce. Deanna Bielber, minus 110 against Gloria De Paula, minus 110 as well. And the last one then is Jesse Strader is the underdog, a plus 203 against Chad Anglier, minus 238. So a lot of names there, I'd say their own uncles have never heard of in that UFC. I'm being harsh, but like what you expect out of me. But anyway, yeah, that's it. Those are my bets for the weekend. I will run through them quickly again. Logan Storley straight up minus 135. Georgi Karakhanyan plus 216. The over in Hill versus Walker at plus 150. I've gone for Parker Porter and Baudot to end in a KO TKO at minus 150. And I've gone for my flyer of the week. 2 flyers a week. I've gone for Walker by decision at plus 900, maybe plus 600. Hill to win by unanimous decision. So if they come off, lads, we'll all be pretty rich this week anyway. And hopefully they do. Have a great weekend. There's lots of MMA this weekend, lots of stuff to watch. And then it's onwards to Bellator Dublin next week. And I'm really looking forward to all the coverage from that and all the fun and excitement above in Ireland's capital. Thanks everyone for watching and listening to this video. If you would you hit subscribe, hit a like, even share it, maybe tag me at Sheehan BA, and you'll get the old retweet probably for me. I really, really appreciate it. We're over 50 episodes into the Sheehan show now, and it's gone very well, and I really, really appreciate all the support from everyone. And long may it continue even. I'll see you all next time.